Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome. You're listening to Perfectly Healthy and Tone Radio with your host, Darren Fatman McDuff. And now, prepare to get fat. Hey, what's cracking? Welcome back to another episode of Perfectly Healthy and Tone Radio, brought to you by I'mTheFatMan.com. I'm your host, Darren McDuffie. And good show for you tonight. I have Dr. Ron Hoggan, who's going to be coming on the show, actually waiting for him to call in or Skype in with regards to the show. And while I'm waiting on him, just to give you a few announcements here for the show. If you have not connected with me on Facebook, please do so. I'm at facebook.com/I'mTheFatMan. My Twitter handle is the_fat_man. I'm so used to saying I'm the fat man, I say it all the time, but the Twitter handle is the_fat_man. Fat is spelled P-H-A-T. I'm also on Google, so if you want to connect with me on Google+, please do so. And if you have not liked my YouTube channel, please do that as well. My YouTube is youtube.com/fatbodybc, so P-H-A-T body BC. So, all right, so I'm waiting for Dr. Hoggan to call in, and while I'm waiting, just want to tell you about my brackets. About 3 or 4 years ago, I picked the NCAA champion, which was North Carolina, a couple of years ago, and ever since then, I have not been able to pick an actual champion. There's so much parity now. I don't know if you've been following the NCAA championships, but Mercer beat Duke, which I never would have thought. And then North Carolina actually won their first game. North Carolina is actually my favorite team, but they ended up losing the second game to Iowa State. But there is no way in the world that you'd be able to pick any of the parity that's going on now. So I have Dr. Hoggan calling in right now, so hold on. Oh, is that you, Dr. Ron?
It is, yes.
Okay. I think we got it going. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happened. I think maybe because you might have tried to call me via Skype. But, all right, so we got that situated. Can you just go back over your story again, Dr. Ron? Sorry.
Sure. It's not an unusual story, particularly in celiac disease. I had symptoms and problems from childhood. I was characterized as a picky eater, a fussy kid, as an attention seeker, and as overly emotional, and as a hypochondriac, because I was always saying that I was too sick to go to school, and then a few hours later I was just fine. And the doctor who got closest to an accurate diagnosis back then was one who thought that I had a colicky appendix. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to my mid-40s, and I was diagnosed with celiac disease when the gastroenterologist went in looking with an endoscopy, looking for stomach cancer. And so I was enormously relieved when he just found celiac disease. And that started me on a road to better health. I was, for the first time, felt warm all the time. And, of course, I was chilly prior to that because of iron deficiency. And the biggest thing I noticed was that going gluten-free changed the way my brain worked. I got a lot smarter.
Yeah.
And it's been an exciting journey ever since.
Yeah, I would agree so, because you actually hooked up with Dr. Braley and you were able to write the book Dangerous Grains. But let's go back in time. Let's kind of just talk about, and my first question for you was, were we evolved to eat grains? I know in your book you covered hunter-gatherers, but were we particularly evolved to eat grains?
No. In fact, our gastrointestinal tracts are clearly not well equipped to eat grains. We're much closer to although we're omnivores, for sure, we can eat a variety of foods, we're better equipped by quite a lot to eat mostly fatty meats and eat some vegetables and fruits on a supplementary level. So we really never were intended to eat grains. One of the things that is worth looking at there, we have very expensive brains. Our brains require a great deal of energy to keep them going. They're a tiny part of our bodies, and yet they consume a significant portion, somewhere around a quarter of the energy we burn in food is used by the brain. So it's a very expensive bit of tissue, and those expensive brains can't have evolved eating grains. The food just isn't dense enough in nutrients. And our GI tracts are not well equipped for grains either. Humans in general are not able to fully digest grains. We just don't have the enzymes necessary for that. And even ruminants, if they're fed a lot of grains, don't fare well on them. They can become quite sick.
Yeah, and I mentioned in your
question.
Yeah, you answered my question perfectly. And I know you mentioned meat, but in the book, it had a great sentence in there where it said that we were just evolved to eat more meat, but more so internal organs. And I know that for me, I just started eating a lot more organ meats. I had some lamb liver, and I posted that on Facebook, and everybody was like, "Ew, I don't want to eat lamb liver." But can you talk about that a little bit more, about eating internal organs? And I remember from the movie Apocalypto, a scene in that movie where they actually killed, I don't know what it was, I know they killed an animal and they were eating the internal organs. But that's what we were really eating back then, correct?
Well, yes, I think there's good evidence to suggest that the hunter-gatherers that were our far back ancestors were eating organ meats. They would discard the lean muscle meat. That was dog food as far as they were concerned. And even modern hunter-gatherers have that same attitude. The organ meats, and particularly tongue and brain and those kinds of things, were all provided a very high-fat, moderate protein diet, which is clearly something that we're best suited for. Now, you can get a similar kind of constitution of the diet collecting mollusks from the seashore, and there are other approaches for sure that will give us that same kind of constitution. But in general, we evolved eating somewhere around 65 to 80% fats by calorie, and the remainder of the diet was dominated by protein with a little bit of carbohydrate. I mean, we grabbed whatever carbohydrate came along,